Joining us now, House of Delegates, Southwest Virginia, Terry Kilgore, Republican, Virginia. Delegate Kilgore, great to have you back, man.
Hey, great to be with you, John. I hope things are going well out your way.
We need a big turnout of Trump supporters in Southwest Virginia. You know what? Internal polling, Terry, this is going to shock you. We're within 3. We actually have a shot to win Virginia.
I think we can, John. I think the folks are going to be surprised up north with the big turnout in Southwest, Southside Virginia, and up the valley, because folks are fed up. Folks are worried. Folks, want to make sure that that America doesn't change, and that's what this election's about.
What are you hearing and seeing in Southwest Virginia? What's the level of enthusiasm there?
A lot of
Delegate.
folks are voting. A lot of folks are voting already, and a lot in a lot of areas of the state that might be bad, but down here that's good. We're seeing a lot of folks vote. We're seeing a lot of enthusiastic. I can't go around my area without seeing Trump flags on the back of trucks with American flags, and folks just really fired up for this election. I mean, John, you were there. I wish I could have been with you all in Newport News the other night. It looked amazing. It looked like you had a huge crowd. I saw where one of the papers said hundreds, but it looked to me like it was thousands that were.
Terry, the paper that said hundreds, this is what the fake news, they said hundreds. You know how many people we had there? We had 14,000 people there. We had 10,000 inside. Right. We had 2,000 out in the walk area, and we had 2,000 that couldn't get in. We knew that we had 14,000. They said hundreds. See, they're such liars.
I agree. I mean, and everything is painted with their brush and not our brush. And I think that there's an enthusiasm out there that we're not seeing in these polls. There's a lot of folks that aren't saying they're voting for Trump that are actually going to vote for Trump.
Personally, I think Eileen, and I said this at the rally in my speech, I called Eileen out and I said, your days are numbered. We're coming. We've had enough. But what do you think of this special session that just goes on in perpetuity, like these people were members of Congress?
I mean, that's, and I hope that's not where we're going to, but that's the way it's been going, John. It's been crazy. Of course, the House, we've been meeting on Zoom, so I have not left the confines of Southwest Virginia, believe it or not, for these meetings. But, some of the, some idea, bills that have been proposed and bills that have been passed are, just anti-police. And, it's really, police stop me all the time and talk to me about these bills. They're really feeling attacked now by the liberals, and we really have to protect our police, because who's going to come at the end of the day to protect you or your family? They want to take our gun rights, but then they want to take the police. I mean, so what do you do?
I mean, that's the question. What do you do if the mobs come? If you try to protect yourself, you get indicted. If you don't protect yourself, you're just a sitting duck. And you can't call the police because they're told to stand down, so they don't come to help you. So what do you do, Terry?
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. We're trying to put us into a rely on the government, but then if we rely on the government and the police is not there, what do you do? And right. It's just not common sense. It's just there's no common sense proposals there. So we really have to work on. That's why we really have to work on getting the House of Delegates back. We'll be on the ballot next year with a gubernatorial race. So we have an opportunity. We only lost the majority by 5,000 votes, and that's that sounds like a lot, but across the state, that's not a lot of votes if we get into these districts and work hard.
John Fredericks Radio Network. We are with House of Delegates member Southwest Virginia, Terry Kilgore. Delegate Kilgore, let's talk a little bit about health care. I know it's on the top of a lot of Virginians' minds right now, especially as we get into the election. In a recent memo by the Partnership for America's Health Care Future, they had written that some politicians continue to propose a one-size-fits-all government health insurance system called the public option that, as we both know, will have negative consequences for many Americans, including higher cost and reduced access to quality care, which is always what happens. What are we doing with this in Virginia?
Well, I mean, as the nation goes, so goes Virginia. That's what we're seeing in the House of Delegates. So we expect to see public option bills put in Virginia, filed in Virginia to move that way. But at the end of the day, the public option, John, as you know, is just a government-controlled healthcare insurance that has to be paid for. So how are we going to pay for it? Either by higher taxes, higher deficits, debt, and what I'm seeing, how it would be paid for would be underpaying hospitals and other providers. And we already struggle in rural America with keeping our hospitals open, with keeping providers coming to our area. So it's just going to really put rural America at a healthcare deficit when it comes down to it, if that's the way we go.
Well, Terry Kilgore, let me ask you this. In rural Virginia, what would have happened if we had a public option when this pandemic hit? What would that have meant?
Oh, it would have been crazy because our hospitals would not have been open. We wouldn't have the opportunity to even go to hospitals. You'd have had to been on waiting lists and things of that nature at some of our big tertiary care hospitals. So it would have been awful. And plus, you'd have been driving hours to get that help. So that's the problem we have in rural Virginia. One size doesn't fit all across this Commonwealth. It may be great for Northern Virginia, may be great for Richmond, but it's not good for Southwest and South Side.
John Fredericks Radio Network. We're with House of Delegates member Southwest Virginia, Terry Kilgore, FOJ, that means friend of John, a longtime participant on the John Fredericks Radio Network, one of our favorite House of Delegate members. Terry, let's just bottom line this. Hospitals during this crisis, they're projected to lose in 2020 $50 billion. My concern always with the public option and other things are just what you said, that rural hospitals go out of business. And they've taken a hit now because, canceling all the elective surgery that's been highly profitable for them. That's the only thing they make money on. I mean, when they go out of business, then you have to drive hours and it becomes a life or death situation, right?
Absolutely. And we saw that in Lee County when Lee County Hospital closed, that we were losing lives because having to drive and having to get to hospitals an hour and a half away, up to an hour and a half away. Then with the public, with the public option and all that's been going on with COVID, we've actually witnessed the average daily intake at the hospital go way down, 50-60%, where they're not putting folks in the hospital for other issues, like you say, elective surgeries and things of that nature. So it's just it would just be a death knell to rural America.
Well, we're also searching for a problem that doesn't exist, right? This is a solution in search of a problem. Because let me just give you this number, okay? Right now, 80% of Americans who are newly uninsured, 80%. So if you're uninsured now, 80% of those are eligible for some sort of publicly subsidized coverage. 80%. So why do we need to change the entire healthcare system when those that are uninsured, we already have existing programs available that impact 80% of them? How does that make any sense?
And I agree with you, John. And as you know, I stepped up and supported Medicaid expansion in Virginia, and you know I got a lot of heat over that. But I think it was the right thing to do for rural Virginia, because we had, it's an economic development issue for me. If you don't have a healthy workforce, you can't create jobs. So we had to do something. So you are exactly right, John. We already have that coverage out there, 80% already eligible. we're looking. It's a solution, looking for a problem, and there would be a lot of problems out there with this what they call a Medicare X choice. It's just going to compound stresses already out there on our.
Makes no sense. Just other things that the fake news is never going to tell you. Monthly premiums for coverage on health insurance marketplaces were down 3% during 2020 as compared to 2019. 8.4 million Americans are eligible for marketplace subsidies in 2020. I mean, it goes on and on and on. Again, this is just a solution, a big government solution for a problem that doesn't exist. Terry Kilgore with us. Terry, I've got a couple of text questions here for you. One is, let me get this right. One is Ken in Chesapeake says, hey, would you ask Delegate Kilgore, when will the emergency powers be taken away from Governor Northam?
Well, we had bills in to do that, John, and we were not. Those bills were either not heard or voted down. I think they were actually voted down in the Senate. So that's an issue. We agree that's an issue. We think the General Assembly members elected that are closest to the people should be involved in these emergency orders because we're closer to the people and we know what's going on in our community. So I agree with your Chesapeake caller.
When is the special session going to end?
Who knows? Of course, we take up the budget tomorrow, John, and we'll, of course, a lot of the funding for a lot of the justice, those bills that have passed on justice reform, a lot of that's funded. So we'll have to look over that today to see what all that involves.
John Fredericks Radio Network. We're with House of Delegates member Southwest Virginia, Terry Kilgore. Delegate, the caucus of the corn, some of the things that they're putting up, they're not working with you guys in any way. I mean, even when you guys had a super majority, I remember that Bill Howe and Whip Kirkcox and others, you guys work with Toscano. You always, when Toscano was the minority leader, David Toscano, you always got him involved. You always talked to him. There was always a dialogue, always. And Toscano would get on my show and say that. But now they have just cut you guys out totally, right?
Right. And yeah, we don't know what, I couldn't tell you what our schedule is going to be the rest of the week. I know what our schedule is like through tomorrow. But, it'd be good for planning purposes to know what the schedule would be the rest of the week and how long the process is going to take. But we're not, from what I understand, we're not being talked to about those issues. But we just need to, that's why we need to just keep fighting, John. And folks like you allowing us to voice our opinions on your show really helps a lot. So we really appreciate it.
Do you think Trump can win Virginia in 2020?
I do not count Trump out in Virginia. I agree. It's going to come out, as you said, to turn out, who shows up. And I think our folks, as you can tell by your folks that attended your rally out there, our folks are fired up. They're ready for this fight. They've been looking for this fight. So I think we're going to see a big turnout. And now Democrats are going to say a big turnout helps them, but not when that big turnout comes from certain parts of the state. John, in the past, we've only voted about 40% of our vote here in Southwest, Southside, and up the Valley. I think you're going to see those numbers 10%, 15% higher. If they're 10, 15% higher, we win elections.
Well, that's the thing. Only 40% of Trump voters actually voted, or you only had 40% turnout if you look at 2016. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these precincts, Trump is getting 85 and 88%. I mean, if you get that turnout up, if you get it up 50, 40% increase, and you get it from 40% to 55, this thing becomes very interesting. And that's what our polls are showing. Our polls show us down right now by 2.5 to 3. Right, it had been 3.5 and went down again, and that is on the strength of what we project as a much larger turnout in Southwest Virginia. And I know you guys are driving that.
Oh, we totally are, and that's the only way we can win Virginia, and that's going to be very important to win in Virginia next year. We got to set the tone this year, and win next year. So that's why that all hands are on deck this year.
Well, listen, Terry Kilgore, a lot of people have written Virginia off, but I think voters are looking what is going on in this General Assembly, the special session from hell, that they're trying to defund police and encourage the mobs. I don't know what they're doing in there. Republicans cut out, like you said, here it is Monday at going on 9 a.m. You don't even know what your calendar is. This is just unheard of, the chaos in there. But look, the Democrats are getting $220 a day to sit on their butt on a Zoom meeting. You know, that's $1,000 over $1,000 a week, and that's not even taxed because that's expense money. They don't have any expenses. They're sitting at home. They're taking that money. Why not have it go on forever? Right? They don't care.
Yeah. Good
they
point.
get $1,000 a week to sit at home in their pajamas. I mean, this whole thing is asinine, but I'm telling you, Delegate, people haven't buyer's remorse. You know, they're looking at Eileen, Filler Corn, Caucus of the Corn, of what they're doing, and they're saying, you know, is this really what I want my Virginia to be? Yeah, I don't like Trump's tweets, but this is really now what I've done in my state. You think that could be happening?
I think it is. And, you know, listen, John, I don't like all of the president's tweets, but, you know, when it comes down to what the vision for America and moving forward, there's no other choice, you know, to create the economy, keep the economy moving, to keep us strong militarily and strong overseas. And, I mean, I just think there's a clear choice here. We don't even know who would be running a Joe Biden administration. I mean, really, think about it. And that's what I'm hoping, that the American people, the Virginians across this great Commonwealth, are going to see that there is a choice here and as they move to the polls.
John Fredericks Radio Network. Hey, one final thing on health insurance I just want to throw out there. Terry Kilgore with us is a tracking poll by Voter Vitals, came out the other day nationwide and in battleground states by another polling firm, and it found that 72% of voters were unwilling to pay more for health care. 66% were unwilling to pay any more taxes for universal coverage, and 54% preferred private insurance over a government-run health care system. When you look at those numbers, how do the Democrats justify going forward with this?
You know, those are great numbers, and those are what you hear when you're out talking to folks. You know, they want to keep their health care. Remember when the former president said, you can keep your health care, which, you know, obviously wasn't true. The healthcare system in America, with all its faults, we still have the best healthcare in the world. Bar none. And we don't need to go to a socialized medicine where you're waiting, and then as you get older, you know, they decide not to do surgeries and things of that nature. I mean, who wants to go to that form of health care? So I think folks are waking up across this nation, and I think we're going to see it on Election Day.
Well, John Fredericks Radio Network, House of Delegates member, Southwest Virginia, one of my favorite delegates, Terry Kilgore, along with me, predicting the upset that's going to shock the world in Virginia on game day. Hey, Terry, thanks for being with us. Thanks for doing all you do in Southwest Virginia. And keep fighting for hospitals, man. Keep fighting for our rural hospitals that are under fire, losing money. That's why I'm also opposed to eliminating, and I just figured I'd toss that in there at the end.
Well, thank you, John.
So nobody can debate me on it. John Fredericks Radio Network with Terry Kilgore. We're going back to Florida. Fred O'Connell when I get back.